When you picture the wealthiest figures in history, who comes to mind? Tech billionaires, Gilded Age tycoons. What if I told you that the greatest fortunes ever known weren't held by mortals, but by ancient gods who commanded the riches of the earth itself? Forget what you think you know about wealth. Today, we're uncovering the gods of money and power you've probably never heard of, whose control over gold, gems, and all worldly riches was both feared and worshipped. These aren't your typical gods of shimmering, heavenly palaces. Their fortunes came from deep below, from the dark and mysterious underworld. They represent a truth that ancient cultures understood instinctively, that all wealth, whether it's precious metal or the fertile soil that grows our food, originates from the earth. Their stories reveal a more primal, terrifying, and powerful concept of what it means to be rich. So, let's dig in and rank the forgotten gods of wealth. Let's start with the god you think you know, Hades, the grim king of the Greek underworld. Modern pop culture has painted him as a one-dimensional villain, the gloomy lord of suffering. But that's not the full story. The ancient Greeks and Romans had a far more complex and fearful respect for him, not just because he commanded the dead, but because he commanded all the world's wealth. In fact, the Greeks were so unnerved by Hades that they often refused to say his name, fearing it would attract his attention. Instead, they used a nickname, Pluto, as the Romans called him, which literally means the wealthy one. This wasn't just a clever euphemism. It was a statement of fact. His kingdom wasn't just souls. It was every vein of gold, every seam of silver, and every precious gem buried in the rock. All mineral wealth was his domain. While his brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, ruled the skies and seas, Hades received the earth and everything within it. Think about that. In the ancient mindset, every mine that ever produced treasure was a direct withdrawal from Hades' vault. He was also connected to agricultural bounty, since seeds lie dormant in his earthly kingdom before sprouting. This link was so strong that his persona was often conflated with Plutus, the actual god of agricultural riches, who was famously depicted with a cornucopia, the horn of plenty. So, while we see him as the lonely king of ghosts, the ancients saw him for what he truly was, the silent, unseen, and impossibly rich master of all earthly fortunes. Journeying north into the misty forests of ancient Gaul and Britain, we find a much wilder and more enigmatic deity of wealth, Cernunnos, the Horned One. Unlike Hades, whose wealth is the cold, hard currency of metals, Cernunnos represents a living, holistic fortune. He is the lord of animals, fertility, and the untamed wilderness. His power isn't just in what can be mined, but in what can be hunted, grown, and born. Depictions of Cernunnos are both powerful and mysterious. On the famous Gundestrup cauldron, he is shown as a mature, antlered figure sitting in a cross-legged position of serene authority. In one hand, he holds a torque of solid gold or bronze neck ring worn by Celtic nobles and a clear symbol of wealth and status. In the other, he grips a ram-horned serpent, a potent symbol of fertility and transformation. He's often surrounded by animals, showing that his domain is the abundance of the natural world itself. Some interpretations also link him to prosperity more directly, suggesting that images of him with a purse overflowing with coins reveal how the Celts viewed wealth. It wasn't separate from nature, it was part of it. Fortune was the stag in the forest, the health of the herd, and the fertility of the land. While some modern neo-pagan traditions connect him to a seasonal cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, ancient sources are silent on this. What is clear is that Cernunnos embodies a kind of wealth that must be cultivated, not just hoarded. If you're enjoying this journey into the divine coffers, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're always digging up new mysteries from the ancient world, and you won't want to miss what we unearth next. Of all the gods on our list, our next one is perhaps the most literally forgotten. His name is Toitates, and he was a major god for Celtic tribes across Gaul and Britain. His name likely comes from the Proto-Celtic word for people or tribe, marking him as a protector of his followers. Toitates represents the wealth and well-being of the entire community, a god of war, prosperity, and tribal identity all rolled into one. The Romans, trying to make sense of him, identified Toitates with two of their own gods, Mars, the god of war, and Mercury, the god of commerce. This dual identity is key. For a tribe to prosper, it needed to succeed in both conflict and trade, and Toitates was believed to oversee both. He was the divine force that guided warriors in battle and blessed merchants to ensure the tribe's economic strength. What makes Toitates so fascinating and so forgotten are the sparse and terrifying records about his worship. The Roman poet Lucan described his rites as involving human sacrifice, where victims were plunged headfirst into a vat. While Lucan's accounts might have been sensationalized for a Roman audience, they point to the intense and primal nature of his worship. Appeasing Toitates was a matter of life and death for the entire tribe, because his identity was so tied to his people. When their cultures faded under Roman rule, Toitates himself receded into the shadows of history, a powerful reminder that some gods can only live as long as their people remember them. Moving eastward into Slavic lands, we meet a complex shape-shifting god who defies easy labels. Also known as Volos, he is a major deity of the earth, waters, forests, and the underworld. But he's also the god of cattle, commerce, magic, and music. Vels is a trickster figure, a magical lord holding the keys to both earthly fortune and mystical knowledge. His primary connection to wealth comes from his authority over cattle. In ancient pastoral societies, cattle were the ultimate measure of a person's fortune, providing milk, meat, and labor. A large herd was the equivalent of a modern billionaire's stock portfolio. As the protector of livestock, Vels was the direct source of his people's prosperity, but like Hades, his power ran deeper. As a god of the underworld, he held dominion over the riches hidden within the earth. Vels often stands in opposition to Perun, the supreme thunder god of the heavens, creating a classic mythological conflict: the chaotic, watery underworld versus the orderly, fiery sky. Tellingly, Velus's statues were often placed not on high hills with other gods, but down in the marketplace, showing his direct connection to commerce. His legacy survived long after the pagan era, as some scholars suggest he was absorbed into the figure of Saint Blaise, a patron of livestock in Orthodox Christianity. Vels is a testament to the idea that true wealth can be slippery, magical, and deeply connected to the earth. Our final god takes us back to the Greco-Roman world, but to a figure far stranger and more scandalous than Hades. Meet Priapus, the rustic god of fertility, gardens, and livestock. At first glance, he seems like a minor, almost comical deity. Priapus is most famous for his comically oversized and permanent erection, an attribute so defining that it gave us the medical term priapism. But to dismiss him as a mere joke is to miss a profound ancient concept of wealth. Priapus was a protector of gardens and vineyards. His statues were placed among the crops, not just as fertility symbols, but as divine scarecrows to ward off thieves. His domain was the most fundamental form of wealth: food, the abundance of a harvest, the fertility of a flock, the sheer generative power of nature. This was Priapus's portfolio. He represented the vibrant, living, and sometimes messy process of creation. The most stunning illustration of his power comes from a famous fresco in the House of the Vetae in Pompeii. This isn't just a crude joke, it's a powerful economic statement. The image declares that the ability to create life to generate abundance from the land is fundamentally more valuable than a sack of inert metal. Priapus shows us that for some ancient cultures, true wealth wasn't something you dug from the ground, but something you grew from it. From the mineral vaults of Hades to the life-giving gardens of Priapus, these forgotten gods reveal a radically different view of wealth. For the ancient world, fortune wasn't a clean number in a bank account. It was a primal force, born from the dark, fertile earth. It was chaotic, dangerous, and deeply tied to the cycles of life, death, and nature. These deities were feared as much as they were worshipped because they controlled forces far beyond human command. They were the original billionaires, commanding fortunes not of paper, but of every gem, every animal, and every harvest the world has ever known. They remind us that all riches, no matter how refined, ultimately come from the ground beneath our feet. Which of these ancient figures do you find most powerful? Was it the hoarded mineral wealth of Hades, the living abundance of Cernunnos, or the life-creating power of Priapus? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.